I've got to show off.
Yeah.
I'm wearing it's a little vintage dress. I've got to bow my hair, did my makeup. I'm trying to look style myself a little bit after the style of the film for today. That's for our patrons. A little get to see the little
Yeah.
video version. Okay, a couple days ago when we were meant to record, I was like, I want to do a mini rant to you, and I'm not as impassioned about it anymore, but I'm still curious if you're curious
Yeah.
about what I wanted to
Yeah.
rant about.
Yeah.
Okay, so the segue is I started watching Dexter. The reason is I don't know about you. I've talked to some other of my friends, and they've experienced this too. Do you ever fall into the habit of like scrolling constantly through YouTube shorts?
Not really.
Okay.
Like whenever I see a YouTube short, it's just the one, and then I go back to regular
Ah.
YouTube.
Well, I think it's any short form video because YouTube Shorts is absolutely formatted after TikTok and
Yeah.
Instagram Reels. It's all after TikTok. But it's the thing where it's like, oh, you just end up keep swiping and swiping and swiping and you see more and more and more, which I guess all social media does because like Twitter and or X, whatever, it does that. I've just not been on there. Anyway, the thing that wastes so much of my time is YouTube Shorts. And I get recommended clips from TV and movies a lot. And it's clips that are just uploaded by random accounts. And I've been trying to rack my brain, not rack my brain. I've been scouring the internet. I'm like trying to figure out what the distinction with these accounts is, how much of it is just like, I mean, it's content farming, just like I know there's sites where they'll just like clip a bunch of stuff. They're clear. It's like I get a lot of Grey's Anatomy and like the 911. Like I get a lot of these shows that have like so many episodes and like are really popular. So that makes sense that I get those because like probably these like clippers are like getting a bunch of these, finding clips from these popular shows and just re-uploading them. But the thing that I'm trying to figure out is if any of these clips are augmented by AI.
I
Because,
think it depends on what they look like and
well,
like how it operates. Because I know I've definitely seen like clips from like movies and TV shows where they like very much center an actor's face constantly. And like I know that's edited, but I'm not sure if like that's through AI or if it's just like a software.
yeah. Well, so sometimes the clips have this like weird, like smoothing, like filter texture on
Um,
it. The thing that is most common, well, almost all of these clips have captions. And that's the thing is that I'm like, I I can't always tell if the captions were like, I don't think that they're the original subtitles. I think they were captions that were added after the fact. Often there's also this weird, like, there's music that's added in the background. There's like a couple of like, it's like some stock songs or something that like are often in all these different clips. But recently I've been noticing, and this is leads to Dexter because I was getting clips for Dexter and I was like, I got so interested that I was like, I just need to watch the show. But it was also like they were very reminiscent of fan cams, which I don't know how much I've talked about it on the show. You know this about me. Like I've done some
yeah,
special studies about like fan vids and stuff.
I think you've at least brought it up.
There's there's a style of like I've seen it a lot of there's a style of a kind of edit. It might even go back to the like K-pop like style of fan cams too, where it would be like real life people in like interview clips. But there's a style of edits that I've seen where it's like a clip from a show where someone like kind of says something badass, and then it's like music comes in and it's like slow mo shots or like stills of like flashing through all these different stills or like slow mo shots of things. But it's like I've seen some of those that like I'm like, I can't, that are in this like cycle of YouTube shorts, and I can't figure out if this is like actually someone who's like putting in the time to edit something a certain way, or if it's like an augmented or like or an automated version of that. Anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that brief obsession. Uh and if I'm going to try to research it further and make a video essay, but I am fascinated. I think one of the things that I figured out, because I started paying attention to who was posting the clips, and the style of, there was a certain style of these shorts that I kept seeing that I'm pretty sure is just one person. So maybe that is just one editor. But I'm very, very curious. My theory, my big brain theory is I wonder if there is, I mean, because we know, like, obviously there's generative AI in the sense where it's like just fabricating images, but there's also, from my understanding, there's certain automated programs of editing, right? Where it's like, ooh, this is the common style. This is how you'd cut something. And I know a lot with a lot of generative AI, like
There can be a mix of
LLMs,
both.
there can be a big both. Well, there can also be like, I mean, stuff is like trained on existing data from the internet, right? So I don't know. Like I remember there being a while back when I was like researching fan vids and stuff. I remember people saying like, "Hey, if these styles of videos become super popular, like corporations and like the official social media accounts of shows and like movies and stuff are going to start editing videos the way that fans do to try to get attention."
And they have.
And they have.
They have.
And I'm wondering if that's a thing that's going into like, if not AI content, like just the content farm slop, like just like churning out clips, if those are starting to mimic a style of like fan work to try to get more attention. I don't know. It's a crazy big brain theory, maybe, but I have to, I was like, I have to talk about this with someone else who's like a media studies person. I know you're not a fan studies person, but it was like, is am I just noticing trends where there aren't them, or aren't there, or like what's going on? Also, has anyone else been getting so many clips of Dexter? I don't know. This is the new show, so that's why I think I've been getting so many clips. So I started watching it from the beginning. But yeah, that's my rant. I don't know how much you want to keep that in the full episode. If it'll just be for patrons, but
I think so far it's fun,
yeah.
at least currently.
Besides my life update of watching a new show, which
Yeah.
also I am kind of, I if someone listens to this, and also of like the friends who know me who keep recommending TV shows, and I keep telling them, hey, I don't really watch TV shows right now. I've been more of a movie person. If they hear that I started watching a new TV show and they're disappointed that I started watching this kind of trash TV show instead of the show they recommended, I'm sorry. It's nothing against you, the recommendations you have for me. It's that I kind of need something that I don't need to think too hard about. And Dexter is fun and kind of, it's good, but it's similar to House in that I'm watching it and it's very like soapy and procedural. And well, it's not even that procedural. That's another thing. I thought it was going to be a standard cop procedural, but it's not. There's an overarching mystery of this season. Anyway, I'm talking too much about this show that you haven't seen. I also got a tattoo. That's what happened. Other update. Oh yeah, you didn't see in our Discord. I sent a
No, I
photo.
haven't checked it in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I got a tattoo. I'm not gonna show it off because it's would be awkward from sitting here because it's on my ankle. But it's one I've wanted for years, many, many years. It's inspired by Platoon of Power Squadron, aka the web series that is is a comfort show and an inspiration to me. Well, do you have any life updates that you want to share?
Yeah. Firstly, I do remember you saying like years ago that you wanted to get that tattoo.
I finally got
So
it.
like it's like, oh, it's finally.
I got it in my friend's basement, which sounds super sketchy, but it was their roommate is a professional tattoo artist and like had all her gear set up in the basement. So it's kind of the best of all worlds because I got to be in an environment that was like felt safe and comfortable, but also like it was clean and professional. So
But it also has a like edgy. This happened in the basement.
yeah, yeah, and like it was like it was like I knew at this party that I was going to that was like, oh yeah, this person might be doing tattoos, and I was like, am I gonna get it? Am I gonna get it? Okay, I'm gonna get it. Like it was very like kind of spur of the moment, but also not because this is literally an idea that I've been thinking about for so long. And there's just never been an opportunity for me to get it because I didn't want to have to spend a lot of money. And like, even though it's a super like simple, small design, it is custom. And I've never like all the like beginning or like, like apprentice tattoos that I found online were only doing their designs. So it worked out. It worked out very well. So I got exactly what I wanted for free in my friend's basement. I feel like I've talked too much.
My like updates since we last recorded is probably already kind of soft launched on my Instagram, like as of recording this. But like, I'm just gonna say that like, if you follow me on socials, you'll know. That's it.
Yep. If you know, you know.
I'm soft launching it.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good. Like things make sense now.
Yeah.
And now we're like officially a kind of iconic duo.
Yeah. Uh
Because this apparently happens a lot.
yeah. Alignment chart or like podcast host, who are you in the podcast host equation, uh ADHD pansexual or autistic baddie. You can cut that if you
Yeah,
want. But
yeah. But yeah, basically, the two genders.
the two genders. Us as
Speaking of the two genders,
speaking of a different kind of self-expression. Hey Fabiola, what are we discussing today?
talking about Funeral Parade of Roses from
Yay!
1969.
Oh, I'm so glad we're discussing this movie. I watched it last June
Yeah,
2024
same.
at Grand Illusion. Had you so I think before I watched it at Grand Illusion, I remember you having it on one of our lists and stuff before. What was
Yeah,
your background with this film?
I knew that it was a like queer Japanese film that's kind of in the vein of The Queen, but it also inspired some elements of The Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm.
And so that combination seemed very interesting. And it was. I did love this movie, and I do have it in a list of movies that everyone who's interested in filmmaking should watch at some point in their lives. They
Yeah,
have to.
absolutely. Yeah, this is a film that is in many ways about filmmaking, but not in the way you'd think. It
Yeah,
does feature a group of filmmakers, but that's not the main story. I'd say it's the structure of the film itself is commentary on how films are structured. Gosh, this, like you said, it's Japanese, from the 60s. So I want to preface before we get into discussing this too much more. There's definitely cultural context that we probably won't get, or not even won't get, will probably miss stuff. Because I mean, that's gonna be the case with, I think, any film that's not in a language that you speak. There's gonna be
Yeah.
differences and nuances in the language. This is a film that is about the many of the characters and the actors within the film like refer to themselves as gay boys. This is a, from my understanding, this is a point in time in part of Japanese culture where there's not, like, now in our, like with our language and context, there would be like a distinction between like gay man and drag queen, trans woman. There aren't really those distinctions now in for this film. It's, but it's definitely about like queer identity, about being trans femme, about being like all of the complexities of finding community and also feeling isolated with having this gay identity, this gay trans femme. In our, I guess in our words, it would be called trans femme. But I watched this one video essay. Did you end up watching it? The one I sent you from Dead Air Films?
That one, someone explained that like the gay part of the term gay boy is more about geisha, so it originates from that tradition. So it's not like them like using this English word
Yeah.
exactly.
There. So the point, I don't think that was mentioned in the video.
No, it was in the
Was
comment
it?
section.
Yeah. But in that, the video by Dead Air Films, there was a, in that video is also by someone who isn't a traditional Japanese speaker but is learning Japanese, and was talking about the like gendered, I guess in Japanese there's not necessarily like gendered third person words, but there's is gendered first person. And the way the main character of Funeral Parade of Roses, Eddie, refers to herself with feminine pronouns. The actor, whose stage name was Peter, refers to himself with male pronouns, or masculine pronouns, but always like in kind of basically in drag, and played a lot of female roles or femme roles. How, okay, what would you say the plot of this film is? And also, is there other historical context that you like? Did you do any research on that you would want to offer?
I think so. I think I just had like the video essay you sent,
Mm-hmm.
and the one I watched, it's more of like a review, and there's an article about the 3 ways one can watch Funeral Parade of Roses that really didn't go much into like cultural context.
Mm.
And there was another article that I found that was mainly about how Funeral Parade of Roses complicates the movie Psycho,
Oh,
which I thought was
oh,
interesting.
oh! I would love to hear that thoughts. Those thoughts. That's actually, Psycho is absolutely something I was thinking about watching this.
It's like half like documentary slash snapshot of Japan's queer subculture in the 60s, but it's also a genre film
Yeah.
and also a loose adaptation of Oedipus.
Yeah. It's a non-linear film with like, where there's scenes that are repeat from different perspectives, and there's some kind of experimental segments, and then also these segments where the cast are interviewed. um
Yeah, which I thought was really cool.
it's so cool. But in your like, all of that aside, what would you say like the best summary of the plot of this film would be?
So it's mainly about Eddie, this young femme person in just kind of seemingly having like a day in the life with some like back and forth editing, non-linear editing, and she works at this bar and she like it's very like her job is party.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe. And so she's with the bar's owner. She's like having an affair with the bar's owner, Gonda, I believe his name
Yeah.
is. And he's mainly with the main girl at the bar, Lita, who's also a trans femme person. And so there's some kind of tension between Eddie and Leda because of that. And Gonda's also like a drug dealer
Yeah.
as well. But it's like mainly about Eddie's life and like she hangs out with this filmmaking group. She also visits a museum where there's like voiceover about mass relating
Mm-hmm.
to like identity and queerness and also like just general human existence.
Yeah.
And there's also like some flashbacks to her childhood where like her mom hates her missing a dad who just kind of disappeared and has like the like his face basically cut off with a like cigarette, so it's like completely burned out.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes like through Eddie's childhood sporadically and like Oedipus like but also kind of gender bent. She like kills her mom. And then I don't know how spoilery you want to get at this point.
We should talk about this
Yeah,
film in full because also
yeah, but I'm
this.
like I mean like at the very beginning of the episode.
Okay, spoilers ahead. This is a film. Actually, this is our second episode, our second film that we're discussing that technically spoils itself.
Which was first?
The guy who didn't like musicals. The opening number, the guy who didn't
Oh
like
yeah,
musicals, that
I was
spoils
thinking.
itself. But
Yeah,
this film also, like, before you find out what the twist is, there's the the interview with Peter where it's like, oh, how do you feel about this film? Like, do you relate
yeah,
to Eddie? And it's like, yeah, I do. Well, not
yeah,
the incest part, but it hasn't yet been revealed that there's incest. The film just
yeah.
spoils
Like
itself.
that and also knowing that it's an adaptation of Oedipus. That
Yeah,
also the title is the spoiler.
yeah.
And
And
it's also
it's,
all in black and white.
oh, it's
It's so
gorgeous.
good.
The cinematography is so beautiful. Eddie is one of the most beautiful leads in any movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. Like it's constantly like a prettiest girl in the room. And I
Yeah,
love her outfits and her wigs,
yeah,
especially. I love the long one with the bangs.
yeah. Oh, so cute. What would you say, like, I mean, this film is camp, just like
Yeah,
when you hear the
in
summary.
various ways. In various ways, we can talk about all the various ways in which it's camp.
Yeah,
But anyways,
for me, I'd say this is a film that is, I should look up what was my original letterbox review because I feel like I like when I first saw this, I was like, my mind was blown, honestly. I was in awe. How did I put it? I mean, the way I'd put it now. So when I first saw this film, what I said was when it clicked that every layer of the film is performed slash a kind of artifice, gender, the retelling of the Oedipus myth, the very structure of the film itself, I felt like I had transcended. This is queer art, not just exploring identities, break apart the form of the medium itself.
yeah, that's one of the things that like really struck me about the film and why I put it in the list of films everyone interested in film should watch and like is arguably the film that inspired me making that list is
Mm.
in just how it kind of shows you that you can just do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be like strictly fictional or strictly documentary or strictly about just one thing or a like small number of things.
Yeah.
It can be kind of everything, and this movie is kind of everything.
Yeah.
And it shows that it is possible to do everything within
Yeah.
one film.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to use the language of camp, I'd say this is a film that puts being a film in quotations.
Like quotations in excess.
Mm, yeah. But I think through its excess, it like puts itself in quotations because it includes so much. You're like, this is not what a film is, but you're like, is it?
Like it's not what a film is, but it's also kind of the ultimate form of film.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a film that comments about itself. The fact that it has interspersed clips, like interview clips of the actors discussing the film and discussing the characters they play. And also, it's not like it's not just like, oh, there's a scene and then someone's talking. It literally, the way it will go into these interview clips is it'll have like a freeze frame or like a film splice moment, and then you'll see the clapper, and then they'll start, like, it's literally
Yeah.
being like, hey, reminding you this is a film that is being shot.
Yeah. And like you can also hear the interview questions and everything.
Yeah. And there's a like truly amazing sequence. I mean, there's so many amazing sequences in
Yeah.
this film, but I think one of my favorites is this really like beautifully shot sex scene between Eddie and then a patron of the bar, Tony,
Tony.
who I think might be American.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, and I think the cut, I think it's when like you're like seeing Eddie's face like climaxing is when it cuts to a wide where you can see the full film crew in the room,
Yeah.
and the actor playing Tony is just sitting on the bed. Like, it's truly like this, you've been watching a sex scene that was all constructed,
Yeah.
but it's still in a lesser film that would take away the emotional stake of what you just saw, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I am like so impressed by this film. I cannot think of any other movie I've seen that has done this, where it is breaking the fourth wall, it's non-linear, it's self-aware, and the emotional impact is never gone. The ending,
Yeah.
it
Like it's not like self-aware and breaking the fourth wall to like kind of release attention or to like not take something seriously. If anything, it's like it's enhancing everything,
yeah,
which I feel like a lot of films don't do.
yeah. Like for the ending, I think I like actually gasped aloud because I didn't remember this exactly, but I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Of the ending where Eddie, if you know the Oedipus myth, this is not a surprise, stabs her out her own eyes, and it's like gasping, wailing, like blood trickling down, and then there's you see like an image of, I don't think it's the film, the full like film, because it's like there's enough variation in the shots, but maybe it's like a makeup test or there's just like
They're like
stills.
BTS shots, including
Yeah,
shots from the rest of the scene that hadn't been shown yet.
yeah. And it's just like you're seeing the scene, and then you're seeing like, here's all these like shots of this scene that you're watching. And it's like, you know what it is? And I think this is why it tickles me so much. it's saying, hey, this is artificial, this is constructed, we're making this happen, but look at the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying too. It's like, this is so disturbing, but this is, hey, we've made this shot that you're seeing. And it's just like, it's a beautiful frame, it's beautiful makeup, beautiful gore in the black and white. It looks like the colors are so stark. And I think that's why it like hits me so close, is because it's like, that's the kind of imagery and the kind of story that I'm interested in telling. And it feels almost like proud of itself to have, like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
and then it also has this moment where they have like an actual film critic, Chogi Yodogawa, where he like interrupts that and he is like, yeah, that was, he said it in better words than me, but like that was a good movie. I'll see you next time.
Yeah,
And then the scene
basically.
keeps going.
Like, you know what it's that kind of critical response feels almost like it doesn't take me out of the emotional impact, because it feels like empathy. It feels like, hey, wow, that was a lot. And it's like, yeah, this is a lot. Like, it's like you're like talking to someone else in the middle of the movie before the movie's even over. It's like, hey, this is a really intense and beautiful film. And
Like it's that, but it also doesn't feel like it's the film telling you how to feel.
no. And I think maybe because it's, I mean, I didn't know that like that was a famous like cinema critic at the time of the film
Yeah.
coming out, until, researching stuff later. But it's not the director. It's like, it's another face. So it's like, it does feel like someone, like, this is someone commenting who is not like the creators of the film. It feels more like an audience member and a peer in some ways. But then it's, that is also like that kind of sense of almost like community and empathy building is then juxtaposed with the final like shot. The final ending of the film is Eddie wandering onto the street, and all of these strangers are like stood still staring. And it's like really horrifying and isolating. This film as a queer narrative is so like, I have so many emotions and thoughts about it. Well, okay, is there something else you want to say about the ending? I want to share my anecdote now. But
I
you
think
it'll be a
it's
tangent.
really cool. And I like that for a while it maintains a POV of Eddie, even though she technically can't see.
Mm-hmm.
But it still operates as if she can, just kind of giving us a window as to like how everyone else she encounters perceives her, like regardless of whether or not it's like quote unquote logical.
Yeah. So when I saw this film, I saw it at the Grand Illusion. Um, I actually saw it on a date. It was a first date. It was in my, oh, what if I like try casual dating on uh like the apps and stuff, which is not for me. I keep trying and it's never for me. Um, it just takes too much time. And anyway, I won't go into my dating life too much, but I was like, oh, there's this person who like, like, oh, we want to get to know each other and stuff. And I really wanted to go see Funeral Parade of Roses. And they were like, oh, does this date work? And I was like, well, I'm going to go see this movie. Do you want to come with? Like, I can get you in for free. And they're like, sure. So this is Funeral Parade of Roses is not a first date movie. it's, and it's,
It depends. I feel like it depends on the person.
it's okay. I don't think it's a movie you should see with someone you just met. It was okay. It was during June because it was part of a Pride Month series. It was summer. Summer in Seattle doesn't get too hot, but in a theater that is full, it's a
Mm.
small room. It was full and the AC was broken. So it was like like it was hot. It was like the air was like thick. There was no, like no circulation, no breeze or anything. But I feel like that enhanced the vibes in some ways, because it like feeling sweaty and claustrophobic really like amped up the ending and tensions. But so after the film was over, it was like, oh my god, that was amazing. Like I was like, what did you think, to this person who I like went on a date with? And they were like, and this person was I remember that they identified as trans. I don't remember all of the ways they identified. But they were kind of like, oh, I don't like that there's this like, trope in films of like trans people, or like I think specifically they were saying like trans femme people who have like a bad relationship with their mother. I think that was what they were critical of. They were definitely like, I just remember them being like, the sense that I got from them is they were like, this is kind of bad representation. Like, why is this the story about this? Like, why is the trans femme character like why does their trans femme character kills their mother and like is in an incestuous relationship? Like that feels like I'm tired of seeing that story, or like that's not how people are actually like, or something. And I'm just like, I was like, okay, but it's a retelling of the Oedipus myth. Like it's like, also I'm like, have you seen this before? So I'm like, I have never seen any film that has looked and formatted the way this film works. Like this is, anyway. So that's why when you said that you have a something comparing it to Psycho, I think is very, I'm very curious about those comparisons, because yes, like it is technically a trope of the murderous trans femme character. But this feels like a very different case, because
Yeah, like Eddie is so fierce and likable and very watchable
yeah, and also
the whole time.
also like yeah, Eddie killed her mom. Her mom also was an abuser. Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying it like it's justified, but it's not like an out of nowhere attack. Like the scene that we get from like the full scene we get from Eddie's childhood, besides that moment, was like Eddie having this moment in the mirror, putting on lipstick, and oh god, it's also just a beautiful sequence where she's like crying and like kisses the mirror, and it feels like this moment of like self coming into yourself and self acceptance and self love, and then her mom comes in and beats her, and it's like so heart wrenching. And also like it's, I'm just saying like there's so many more layers in this film than just like the problematic representation. Also, I think
Yeah. And
that's
she should be allowed. She should be allowed to do all that. I don't
that's
care.
the thing. I'm like, it's an interesting story. I kind of don't care if your character is like not a model I mean, we've said this before in other
Yeah.
ways, but like it doesn't matter if a character, fictional character, is not an upright standing citizen and a perfect model minority. You should like, it's a story. Let people let the character like express themselves. And it's a film that is so,
It's a movie from the late 60s. Of course it's gonna be crazy.
yeah. But
Of
even
course these characters are up to something.
like, but like even then they're up to something, but they're also like, what does Eddie do like for most of the film?
Hang
She
out.
gets high and hangs out with her friends. Like she's not doing anything. Like yeah, she has some childhood trauma and some fucked up stuff, and she's technically sleeping with her dad. She didn't know she was sleeping with her dad. It's literally the most of the film is just
That's
being a party
that's
girl.
the point.
Yeah.
That's what makes the original story so enduring.
Yeah.
And also the 60s, of course, these people are just hanging out and dancing.
Yeah. uh
In the 60s, you were either dancing or going through the most traumatizing thing ever.
and Eddie does both.
I think it could be useful to go to the source about like the three ways to watch
Yes.
Funeral Parade of Roses and just kind of use the format of the three ways. And the first one is just about observing the texture of the film, which we've kind of covered in the sense that it's like has documentary elements, it has experimental filmmaking elements, it's a narrative, it's also a genre film. And the second way is as a monument of queer cinema. And the third way is we can read the film in ideological context in the terms of like basically like what does it mean for a film at this time to be like so experimental out there,
Mm-hmm.
like considering the state of film.
Mm.
Also, the article is called Three Ways of Looking at Funeral Parade of Roses from the Solute, just so we have the title.
Yeah. On as always, citations are in the description. Um,
Yeah, I feel like it could be useful to elaborate that last one. So they write in her book Cinema of Actuality, Japanese avant-garde filmmaking in the season of image politics, Yuriko Furuhata groups Matsumoto, the director of the film, among a later generation of filmmakers dealing with the failures or implied shortcomings of the push for more engaged cinema of reality in the early 1950s. Like many in the international left, Japanese filmmakers, often Marxists themselves, have looked for an ideal mode of representation for, quote, the event. That sense of actuality, or as Furuhata puts it, critical art that directly addresses or indirectly evoked contemporary social and political situations. Soon enough, the cinema of actuality found itself unable to meet its own ambitions. By the time Matsumoto began working on Funeral Parade, the ideal of an actuality cinema had given way to a cinema about actuality. That
mhm.
is, a cinema that looks at the way that media, and particularly the medium of television, creates that sense of actuality by documenting the event. In other words, it's no longer the moment itself, but what Furuhara calls the quote artifactuality of the documentation of the moment. That Anderson filmmakers in the late 60s, and this is where she situates Funeral Parade. This may seem like a concession to impotence, a shift from the impossible real to the parodic meta, but this gradual dissatisfaction with the former was not unlike the political dissatisfaction that was happening out west with the international left, which struggled through the 1960s with its own political contradictions. Chris Marker identifies 1968 as the year those contradictions finally led to complete meltdown. High-minded idealism was giving way to despair among the best and cynicism among the worst. There's something to be said for for fundamentally ludic response to hopelessness.
Yeah. That middle part of the quote about like documenting the instead of being like what's actually happening, it's the documenting what is happening is the I'm, there was a lot of words. Sorry, I'm trying to
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to say part of that quote brought to mind an image from this film of the group of like filmmakers within the film when they're filming the television of like
yeah.
these protests, which I don't quite know what there's definitely a lot of like political stuff going on in the film. I don't know the full context. I'm pretty sure
There
this
was like
is
this fasci group, and there were also like some what the film indicates to be like more leftist groups protesting.
yeah. Is this when there's still is the United States still occupying Japan at this moment?
I'm not sure, but the presence of Tony seems to indicate at least a recent past of that because I'm pretty sure he has like a photo of him in like the military or he's wearing a uniform and he's
Mm-hmm.
American.
Yeah.
This is definitely around the time of Yukio Mishima, which
Can you remind me?
he's a Japanese multi-hyphenate. A few weeks ago, I watched Paul Schrader's. Really good. It's one of my favorite films of all time now. And basically, Mishima was kind of this weird amalgamation of fascist return to imperial Japan, like pre 20th century Japan,
Mm.
but it also like heavily implied to be for gay reasons.
Oh.
Yes, it was like a very like capital F fetishized return mindset,
Mm.
and he like basically a couple of years after this movie came out, like attempted a coup, a
Mm.
military coup, and when he failed, he committed seppuku.
Mm.
And yeah, so I think that's a like good kind of double feature moment.
Mm.
Because like they're similar time, varying different explorations of queerness that are like
Mm-hmm.
vastly different, but they're both
Yeah.
also kind of experimental in structure since
Mm-hmm.
Mishima, A Life in Four Chapters is both like told in four chapters and also loosely adapts some of his own like novels and plays within the
Oh.
story. It's really interesting. I highly recommend the movie. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's one I've
But yeah,
seen talked about a lot. So
for
I'll
good reason. For good reason.
anyway, there's that image of
Yeah.
basically the filmmakers, they're filming these protests on the television. It's a very like it's honestly an insanely meta moment if you're thinking about like, okay, they
Yeah.
see this stuff on the television, someone is filming that, and then you see characters filming that, and then the camera, the actual filmmakers of the film are filming that. It's very abstracted.
Like it's very much about like how if most contemporary films from this era were about or attempting to document the moment, this film both does that and also documents the documenting.
Yeah. Yeah, but your the quotation also made me think of kind of like what is the emotional tone of this movie? Is it cynical or not? Actually, I don't really have an answer of what like tone or even if there's I don't really think that there's
It's kind of doing everything
yeah.
and it knows it's doing everything. It does what kind of everything I love does, which is just offer up a bunch of ideas and
Mhm.
questions, and it's not very important to answer them within the work.
Mhm. But there is a kind of like I think the word that was used in the Dead Air Films video essay was like disassociation. If you piece together all of the non-linear moments, essentially this like day that Eddie has where driving with wait, is it Gonda or Ganja?
Gonda, I think.
Gonda. So
Gonda, I think.
driving with Gonda, and then they see Lita and being like, "Oh my goodness, does she know that we're like having this affair?" And then Eddie like leaves the car and then sees this like demonstration that's very weird. There's like people wearing masks and walking very slowly with these like boxes. And then Eddie like tries to get away from that and then is like followed and catcalled and then like ends up in this museum with the masks and then
There's like
finds
one of my favorite editing moments where like she bumps into this guy in a bike with ramen and then you like see the ramen just fall
yeah,
multiple times.
yeah.
Anyways,
Oh, and then also right after that, again, amazing editing where like she's kind of like leaning against the wall, like disassociating. and I say disassociating because of a monologue that she has, not monologue, but like a conversation that she has with Guevara, the uh director of,
The director.
yeah, but which we'll get back to him because there's also some really interesting stuff with him.
Yeah.
But there, another editing moment to kind of show this like disorientation that Eddie's feeling is that she's like leaning against this wall, and there's like someone who comes up and talks to her, and then it like jump cuts and he's like on the other side, and it's like there's a in like a discontinuity in the what the like image is, what the actual events are, but it like it's disorienting, and it very much puts you in Eddie's minds. So after the museum, she ends up with Guevara, and they like go to the top of this like skyscraper or something, and they're looking
Yeah.
down, and it's just very like the dialogue in is very just like it's very sad. I don't know. It's interesting to have to talk about like all of the tone and all of like the emotions of this movie. Like we see lots of partying and like having a good time, and then we also like have Eddie being like, I feel like I've always been disconnected from myself. And I don't know if this is something that that analysis that you were reading from mentions, but to me that feels such a like it's a very much a part of being a queer person, this kind of like, yes, there's all this like political stuff going on that's stressful, and like trying to make sense of yourself, like but that's trying to make sense of who you are, and your identity is just for Eddie as a character who is this like trans femme like person, this gay boy, like it's all, I don't know, I think it's something that's very, it's sad, but it's also very beautiful and real about this film, that it's like, yeah, not everything's positive. Like, yeah, like Eddie's kind of like harassed on the street, and then like has a disassociative kind of sequence. Like, and the film is, I think this is also kind of a point that the Dead Air Films makes, that it's almost like the film is disassociating itself. Like it's also like breaking form.
Like before going into like the more artifice stuff that you kind of hinted at. And one of the thoughts that I had like after watching the film was that it kind of broke the wheel apart and reinvented the wheel
Mm.
in terms of film.
Yeah, a moment of artifice that we hinted at talking about the director. There's a great moment where so most of the film he has this like,
Artifice and gender.
yeah, where
Yeah.
he has this like full beard, and then there's this shot where he's, you realize it's a fake beard, and he's like putting on like gluing the beard down, and he sneezes
Yeah.
and it
Like
comes
whenever he
off.
sneezes, it falls off.
But not only do we see the beard fall off, it's then intercut with like a headshot of the actor clean shaven. Like it's not even like an in character thing. It's like, no, this is, hey, that's what the actor actually looks like. And there's like, there's comedy in that, but it's also like, hey, this is how like someone who's not even like of all, like there's so much of the gender expression is this like feminine gender expression, but this that is like a masculine gender presentation, that later like when Eddie's putting on a wig, there's an intercut of the sneezing the beard off with the wig, and it's very much like, hey, like augmenting the hair is a form of gender expression, like no matter if you're like cis or trans, even though the film doesn't use those terms, we would use those terms now.
And I feel like Funeral Parade of Roses also uses costuming and also just various filmic choices to inform what's happening. With
Mm-hmm.
the costuming, it's mainly the contrast between Eddie and Lena.
Yeah.
It's like Eddie's very clearly a mod girl,
Mm-hmm.
very like textbook 60s on trend, and Lena's very like she wears the traditional kimonos and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and a lot of her scenes are also shot in a more traditional way.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Eddie's very like montagey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that the again that I this I mean it was my main research reference point, but the Dead Air Films video essay talked about like it's not just like traditional filmmaking, it's also like kind of some of the way scenes between with Leda are like state like it looks like it's traditional like Japanese stage plays. And like
Yeah.
there's intercutting of like title cards too.
Yeah, and it also like kind of does a fun camp thing with it. Cause like if you noticed when he like slaps Leda, she like falls toward the other direction because that's the direction where like her profile would be visible, like her face would be visible. Like
Yeah.
even though that's not how physics would work,
Yeah. I hadn't
but
thought of
it's like a
that.
film, it's a set.
Yeah, you're so right.
You have to see everyone's faces.
um
And that one's also the one that has like the the title cards, the dialogue cards. And another moment of dialogue cards are like a showdown between Eddie and Leda, which is really iconic. They have little like comic book voice word
well, and
bubbles
they had
of them,
little like
and it's like a
cowboy
still
pistols.
image. Yeah, they also like briefly got cowboy outfits and like little toy guns where the bullets attached to a string. And there's also like one of the things that is a clockwork orange element is like the really fast, like sped up moments and sped
Mm-hmm.
up scenes with like the silly music.
Well, it's also like it feels like traditional like slapstick or even like silent film stuff.
Yeah, there's also like another moment of like camp and artificiality and also reappropriation of Japanese culture that I really liked. It's like specifically traditional Japanese culture was like also brought up in the Dead Air Films video where like in the scene where Eddie and her friends are walking outside and like they kind of cross paths between this group of cis women and they like spot each other and like when they're arguing, the cis woman like quote strike a pose similar to a mie. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's a pose used in kabuki plays to convey the character's personality and motivations. So it's literally a moment of instant character,
Yeah.
like performance and
Mm-hmm.
movement.
Yeah. That's also that woman. There's like a scene where it's shown that maybe she's like paid or like told to like beat Eddie up by one of Leda's friends, I think, where it's like ruin her face or something like that. There's a line, and then they like have this like meeting in the street. But yeah, that's a really it's like again, it's like a oh, this is what you can do in filmmaking where it's not just like yeah, there's so many kinds of like instant character and stuff. And I think it but often I think it's through like costumes or and set
Yeah,
design are often a way to do that and or like makeup looks but it's like the way like it's like oh this is like a like exaggerated like facial expression and stance which is so it's not like that yeah it's kabuki theater like it's
yeah,
like such a stylized form of like expression where it's like yeah I'm gonna have a character do that in my film and it works because
yeah.
everything in the film is so stylized even though there's not really other characters that ever act like that for this like moment this like little it's just yeah it's so
Also, I really want to note the mirrors. Like
yeah
this film is very much about mirrors,
mm-hmm.
but like what stood out to me was not necessarily like the reflection aspect of mirrors, but about how like mirrors are about what you look like or what you
Mm.
think you look like. It's very surface level, but it can also say a lot about like what you think of yourself and what you think about others.
Mm.
Like one of the main mirror scenes is when Leda is like doing the mirror on the wall, and it's like only her and the mirror and just a dark background, and then Eddie shows up in this beautiful dress
Mm-hmm.
behind her. Like,
Which then isn't even when the scene like kind of shifts back to like being actually in
yeah,
the bar. That's not the dress Eddie is wearing.
yeah.
But
It's
it's
literally a kind of, it's how the surface expresses how Leda feels about Eddie.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't want to make it seem like this film is only accessible to queer audiences. I think it's so like it's absolutely a fantastic story that anyone can relate to, but and I am also not, trans femme or even identify as trans, but I as a queer person, there is a kind of like constantly being like, am I how are other people observing me? How am I seen? Is very much like I think anyone can feel that way, but I think that there is I don't know, there is something about the characters being queer that feels very like hits close to home when watching this for me. And again, even though I'm not trans and like feel like I'm concerned about like passing or something, I don't know. I wrote down in my notes about how the film the structure of the film is commenting upon itself and is very self-aware. And I had this realization, I'm like, that's also like being queer and like knowing that you're being observed by other people. Maybe it's too big brain, but
Yeah,
like commenting upon yourself and being self-aware is a kind of a queer experience, and then the film itself does that.
yeah, like relating to that, like one of the main ways that this film is camp is in the like interviews with the cast. It
Mm-hmm.
adds a humanity to the characters as well, and like you can, in a way, you get to know this person, while also being shown that this is all artificial. I feel like that's very quintessential camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, you know, quintessential camp, the artifice reveals the truth.
Yeah,
Like that's why it works. That's why it's so emotionally like I'm like
that's why it's one of the best constructed films of all time.
yeah. It's like, oh, being aware of how like yeah, interviewing the actors, being aware of when the filmmakers are constructing a scene. It's like it makes you relate to it more. It makes you feel like, okay, what about this is I don't know. I
I think it's because of how, like, and again, quintessential camp is that they're being very sincere and taking seriously the construction of everything.
yeah. I'm just having this moment. I think I kind of I trailed off because I'm part of me is like, is this too pretentious? Like, is this like that doesn't really that shouldn't really matter. The people who listen to this podcast are, you know, they're all film
If it
nerds
is
too.
too
They
pretentious, it's just gonna turn into naive camp.
no, I don't think the film is pretentious.
Either
I'm saying
way,
our discuss. I'm like in
yeah,
the
I'm
way I'm talking
yeah,
about it. Am I hyping it
that's what
up
I'm
too much?
saying.
Like,
That's what I'm referring to. Do you want to briefly cover like the psycho comparison before we
yes,
wrap up?
yes, please, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the article I found was Victim and Executioner, which is the first quote that's quoting the first line of the film, the first quote of
Which
the film. It's never spoken.
I also looked it up. It might be a reference to Flowers of Evil by Charles Baudelaire. But yeah, it's a great quote. The I'm a wound and a blade, a victim and an executioner. It's the first title card.
Yeah. So the full title of the text is Victim and Executioner, Funeral Parade of Roses, Psycho, and Queering the Monstrous Other
Mm.
by Peyton McCarty Sumas. and it basically goes over the ending of the film.
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed was they said the opening shots of this quote outing of Eddie as non-cisgender at the beginning of the film when she's showering
Mm,
parallel the opening moments of the shower scene in Psycho, destabilizing the heteronormative framework and pathology of Hitchcock's film in this new context. And in Psycho, this moment was Marion Crane.
yeah.
And so in one section, it basically covers how the cast interviews and the general like humanizing narrative and treatment of Eddie inevitably works further to disavow the queer negative edible pathology of Psycho and Norman Bates, which with Psycho, as good as it is, it doesn't like really humanize or like really put us into the perspective of Norman. He's like
Yeah.
consistently an othered character.
Mm-hmm.
And they also say the film's climax, restaging of Oedipus's self-mutilation and Acosta's suicide, references Psycho in a more fragmented fashion, aligning Eddie and her father, Gonda, in turns with both Marion and Norman, Psycho's binary hero and villain, as a means of complicating the film's relationship with queer-coded monstrosity. Burgonda's discovery of the photograph placed him in the role of Norman, the fraud lawyer and sexual transgressor. Here he becomes Marion, the victim of a sexually tinged murder on part of a quote perverse queer character.
Mm.
Gonda's suicide then, through this blending of subject positions, serves as a postmodern reflection of the ambiguous relationship of not just Acosta to Oedipus, but Marion to Norman and Norman to himself, unknowing accomplices to an inadvertent act of sexual transgression, notably incest and non-queer sex, which are both active in their desire and passive in their ability to change their fates. In Funeral Parade's final minutes, the rapid oscillation of Eddie's subject position from victim to monster and back again ultimately serves to disavow the monster's pathology assigned to that character and reveal the constructed nature of the film's narrative. Upon discovering Donna's body in the bathroom, Eddie, haunted by a shot of the mother laughing at them, previously shown in relation to recollection slash fantasy of murdering her, takes the same knife from where her father had left it in the sink and proceeds to stab her own eyes out. Thus, Eddie replicates this action while still holding a bloody butcher knife in her hand, puts them in a highly liminal position relative to gendered expectations of victimization. In relation to how reaching out that Marion does at one point,
Mm. Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen Psycho,
Eddie,
but all of the shots are
yeah,
that's a sequence that is so repeated, it's
yeah,
in your brain.
Eddie, like Gonda, has become their own victim by playing both the role of queer villain and feminine victim.
Hmm.
There's also like another thing that would be good to mention later on since it's not super related, but it also this thing now is related to the ending. So like the ending of Psycho where they're like explaining like Norman's psychology
Yeah.
and this so in the ending of Funeral Parade of Roses, this final coda is also notably shown from Eddie's perspective, irrespective
Hmm.
of the fact that they are blind, implying a queer gaze which exists outside of the diegesis of the film and is critical of the voyeurism of an audience who relishes in its ability to consume the image of Eddie as monstrous other. Taken together, these final moments suggest that no easy moral conclusion can be drawn from Eddie's tragic story, seeming to force the viewer to look beyond the good and evil framework of heteronormative cinema, a fact already established through the use of extradiegetic interviews with the out queer cast of the film, and exist in quote queer time, accepting the multiplicity of queer experience beyond the pathologizing influence of heteropatriarchal filmmaking.
Take that, random date.
Yeah, so like for context, the similar moment in Psycho, they describe it as, and also like it's not just like the ending a funeral parade, but also the interjection from the film critic
Yeah.
as like a sort of comment on slash explanation of everything, but not really. The conspicuous interruption, which takes place 4 minutes before the actual end of the film, seems to be an overt and cheeky reference to the square up or the conversation in exploitation films of having a character or an extra diegetic announcer explain the moral of a film at its conclusion. A trope deployed by Psycho in its final sequence, where the court psychologist psychoanalyzes Norman Bates.
Yeah. Yeah. This film is, it's so much more like, I'm struggling to think of another word other than layered, which I feel like I is not the most descriptive word.
Yeah,
Um it's it's not moralizing the way Psycho is, and it's humanizing. It's playful and tragic.
but it's also like directly not telling you that.
Exactly. No, it's I guess when I say tragic, I mean like it's not, it's being playful. It's not like being overindulgent and over like grandiose, but it's also like, yeah, like feel these emotions. It's there's a, is it catharsis or pathos? I can't remember the official, all the Greek, what the words actually mean what with, it's those are Greek, right? Or Roman, I don't know, but I'm like, there is like a, there's an emotional oomph, but it's not like, it's not saccharine, it's not like,
Yeah,
and it's also not like, to like, there's like Circean melodramas where it's like so over the top it like becomes
yeah.
camp in a different way. This is more just like letting it breathe, but with a little like, enough to be like, enough of a
But
distance
with
to
a
be like,
little vibe to it. With a
yeah,
little vibe.
yeah,
I think
it's a
maybe to
fucking
wrap.
genius film. It's a fucking
Yeah,
genius film. What,
yeah.
is this the second, I whoops, I think this is the second time we've talked about something, no, third time we've talked about something on the pod that I've given 5 stars. Nope, fourth time. Sorry, I forgot I gave Scorpio Rising 5 stars. I love, I love films.
Yeah,
I love films. Oh man, I'm so glad you liked it.
yeah. It was so good. And I think for like my final thing or one of my final things, just kind of brought up at this article, but I'm just gonna like summarize and also add my own to it is how Eddie feels like both like a very classical character but also very
Mm.
modern. She kind of bridges this gap of like old school diva in terms of character arc and how like she's presented, like the way she's framed is very, she's meant to be iconic,
Mm.
but she's also like just a girl vibing,
Yeah.
but also a supporting women's wrongs vibe.
Yeah. I truly, was it your letterbox review that was like, why isn't she on more like Tumblr girlies like femcel and
Yeah,
inspiration posts?
she's very mood board. She's very text post vibes. She's
Yeah.
very Pinterest.
Yeah. Her makeup's always
She should
flawless.
be in a lot of those. A lot of you would fall for this posts.
Yeah.
What are your favorite outfits or little camp moments?
I love, love, love Eddie's bob. There's so many great wigs, but I love the little like just chic little. Of looking through my all my notes and stuff. One moment that we haven't referenced directly, it's a line in the interview with Peter, which I love, is the you hear like the interviewer behind the camera say like, what do you think of the love scenes? And he's like, I just do what the director tells me. It's so, it's just like so, it's just, I love that it's like, oh, is there something, is it going to be controversial to like have these like, gay love scenes? And it's like, I'm just doing what the director tells me. We're just making a little movie, like,
It's also like very iconic actress line.
yeah,
Like
it
that was an
is.
it girl moment of Peter.
Yeah.
I love her little newsboy hat that she wears to the mall. It reminded me of Hannah Montana as well as her like long wig with the bangs.
No,
It
you're
was a very
so
Hannah
right.
Montana moment.
Yeah. You're so right. There's another cute little moment where it feels so like truly just this is what people just hanging out with their friends is like. It's actually the crazy reference, but it feels similar to some of the scenes in Assassination Nation, where it's just like girlies hanging out, where Eddie's friend, I can't remember, it's the one with the hair, her where it's the all the bows in her hair.
Yeah, the boat. Yeah, I somehow completely forgot about, but still wanted to mention the wig with all the bows.
Yeah. But it's when she like comes over, I'm just gonna use she her pronouns, I don't,
Yeah.
but and is like, ooh, that looks delicious, can I have it? And like is like eating a banana and then is like laughing while she's eating the banana. And it's like, I know what you're thinking. And it's like, well, how else, like what else am I supposed to think about? Like, it's just so funny. And it's also just so like, it just feels so comfortable because it's like, oh, like just hanging out with your friends while you're like finishing your makeup to go out.
Also, the lashes
The
in this
lashes.
movie.
Oh my God. I have never been someone who's good with fake lashes, but I
Me neither.
want lashes like the girls have in this movie. And this is what I mean, where I think Eddie is the most one of the most beautiful characters I've ever seen on a film.
Yeah.
Is the camera just these beautifully soft lighting. It's very like it is kind of old Hollywood in some ways. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking that because it's black and white, but just this beautiful. It's just shots of her face and these beautiful long eyelashes. Oh, and it's like not. It just truly just feels like adoration. Is that the right word? Like they're just it's adoring, and it's just like it's not like
Yeah.
fetishized. That's another thing about this film. It's a trans femme character who is not.
Like it's a diva moment.
Yeah,
The
it's
whole
like
film is a diva moment.
she is sexy, but it's not fetishized. It's not sexualized.
Partly because she has a whole story
Yeah,
and the film is interested in who she is as a person.
yeah. This is
Is there
like
anything else?
okay. Well, not a favorite moment, but something really small that I don't know. Did you notice that there's that one scene when they are like, "Oh, there's cops coming in." I think because of the whole like trying to bust the drug ring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you notice that there's like a moment where it's like there's like the two guys and they're like scrambling and they like accidentally grab each other's coats and stuff, but the hangers,
Yeah. Hangers, it's a Marilyn and Elvis,
is it Elvis?
right?
I thought it was
It
Abe Lincoln.
made
Is it
either one of
Elvis?
those. An American icon,
Yeah, they're definitely like
regardless.
American icons.
Clear iconography.
Mm-hmm. There's just so many like it's just a fun film. Like it's also like devastating. Like the ending makes me really sad, but it's also so beautiful. And for most of the film, you're just vibing. You're just like getting high with Eddie and her friends. Like
That reminded me so much of that '70s show.
oh
Just
yeah.
like that one like circular shot. I was like, oh, I love that 70s show.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Do you have any last iconic images or things you want to mention?
I don't know what else to
Yeah.
say. Like
Watch this
this is one
movie.
of those films where it's like there's so much to say, but also there's no way to like properly describe it.
Yeah. Well, and it's somehow
So
like
yeah, watch the movie.
on the surface, it's like a relatively simple story, but because it's so like the way it's told is so all over the place, like you kind of have to watch it multiple times. I think it's on archive, in Internet Archive, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
watched it on.
that's how I watched it.
Oh, cool. I watched it on Canopy. If there's some way to see it in theaters, highly recommend getting to see it in
I can
theaters.
imagine it looks really good on a big screen.
Oh my god, it looked so
I
good.
can imagine it.
Also, it's a kind of film where like I remember it like being like like gasps. Like and like there's like especially that ending, like there was just this like emotional charge of the whole theater like holding their breath almost. Yeah.
Like in every sense of the word, Funeral Parade of Roses is cinema.
Yeah.
And I think that's my final thing.
That's where we should end it.
Yeah. Thank you to our patrons.
Jose Liaño, Joshua, Marcus Gorman, and Pericles Caspari.
Thank you to everyone who's been a guest on this show.
This episode was edited by Fabiola Liaño. Our theme music is by Harrison Lurie. I've been Saffron Hefta-Gaub. You can find me everywhere at Gaub Hefta.
I've been Fabiola Liaño. You can find me on Instagram at Fabiola the Gremlin and on Twitter at Fabiola_Liaño. The podcast, It's Giving Camp, on Instagram at It's Giving Camp Pod and on Twitter at Giving Camp Pod.
It really helps us out if you're able to give us a rating or review.
Be sure to support our Patreon.